Hi, my name is Carlo Volpe,
And I'm Desmond Silva,
and
and
welcome to
welcome to
Centerville
Centerville
Voice.
Voice.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Centerville Voice. My name is Carlo, and my good friend Desmond. How are you, Des?
Okay, but you, Carlo?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Des. Welcome, everybody, to Centerville Voice. This is episode number 28. And tonight, we're going to get right back into it. It's been a little bit of a break, so welcome back. Welcome, Des, back as well. We've been doing the holidays, and I've been buying a house and selling a house, and we're getting back now in it. But I want to kind of continue kind of where we left off a little bit with the Kyle Rittenhouse case. But you wanted to bring up kind of a different side of it, Des. What is that?
Well, comparing it with a similar case, sort of similar, when you start to look at it very closely, and that's the case of Ahmaud Arbery. So, for those of you who don't know, if you haven't known, I don't know if you've been on a rock or whatever, but on February 23rd, 2020, Ahmaud Arbery was that he was a 25-year-old Afro man who was basically murdered in by two fellows, by a group of three guys who went after him in a sort of vigilante fashion to try and basically make basically an illegal citizen's arrest, so to speak, uh,
Yeah.
for something that they suspected him of doing rather than something that he actually did. He never really did anything wrong.
Hmm.
And then you have, of course, Kyle Rittenhouse. In his case, he was in Kenosha during the riots. Was acting as a medic and defending some local business that was there, and became the victim of a would-be attacker, Rosenbaum, which then escalated into having three other guys play again vigilante because they assumed everything that without any proper evidence
Yeah.
and without analysis of that. The big difference is that Rittenhouse had a gun, and Ahmed Arbery didn't have one at all, and
Hmm.
so Arbery was shot and killed. Rittenhouse fired back. He was shot at, mind you, he was shot at, but he fired back and he was able to defend himself, and he actually came out with his life. Ahmed was not so lucky at all.
Yeah, he wasn't armed. He wasn't there to cause trouble, from what I
No,
understood, right?
he was
What
just
I
a curious.
understand.
He was just a curious young man. He's a 24, 25-year-old man. Didn't
Yeah.
really do anything wrong.
Yeah,
And
and let's talk about that. So, from my understanding, is that the case is that a young guy, mid 20s, black guy, walking through the neighborhood, like a bunch of other people were, white, black, whatever, in the neighborhood. They were going through this abandoned house,
well,
and
not
when he
abandoned
happened to,
house, but it was a house under
oh,
construction.
well, under construction. Okay, so not finished yet.
Mhm,
And while other people were walking through the house, he was as well.
mhm.
But because after he did, he started being followed
Yeah,
by three
well,
men.
so what happened is that the owner of the house that was under construction had put cameras up because
Okay.
there were reports of people who had gone in and stolen stuff every now and then. So he put
Okay.
cameras up to check who it is. Now the thing is, there were lots of people going in and out,
Okay.
families, kids, grown men and women, teenagers,
Even
all
after the
sorts of
cameras were
folks.
up as well.
Yep, the cameras caught all of them, right?
Okay.
And the vast majority of these folks were all just nosy, curious folks who
Neighbors.
wanted to go exploring inside of this house,
Okay.
right? And Aubrey was pretty much the same. He just went inside, looked
Hmm.
around, didn't take anything, and
Okay.
came back out.
Yeah.
Now, the guy was jogging. I guess he must have been going for a jog because what happened is that he was jogging along, running along, and then he saw the house, walked it right into it, looked around, came back out, and then kept on running. Right?
Okay.
That's all happened. But the guys who lived across the street, okay, two of them apparently old war army vets, right?
Okay.
But you can tell these guys were racist guys. The first black guy that comes in there,
Oh,
and
jeez.
these guys decide, oh, okay, this guy is a probable threat. Give me a break. The guy, that's racial
Yeah.
profiling right then and there. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll
For
admit
sure.
when something's racist, and that was racist. That
Oh
was a
yeah.
bloody
Yes.
racist.
Yeah.
An open shut case, and in that case, and so what do these guys do? They call their neighbor and they chase after him This guy's on
Wow.
foot. They chase after him with pickup trucks, and
Wow.
they count guns, and then they're trying to arrest him, right, and bring him to the police. He didn't do nothing, right?
Yeah.
Now the thing
Oh,
is,
so they
now
actually tried to perform a citizen's arrest.
they tried to perform a citizen arrest.
And it's during this struggle that when he got shot?
Yeah, they got shot. But what happened is, Arbery went and reached for the guy's gun. The other guy's gun,
Okay.
one of the guy who was struggling with, and
Yeah.
so that guy took his gun and shot Arbery.
Oh,
Right?
man.
If they didn't have any gun problem, if they didn't have a gun in that particular in this situation, maybe they would have pinned him,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Still,
that makes it complicated though, because that is like multifaceted. That's like a bomb right there. Because the question could be, if they didn't have a gun, no one could be shot. That's clear, right?
yes.
But if the other guy had a gun as well, nobody would have got shot probably.
Yeah, exactly. So he
Or
would
if
have
the other guy
probably been
was
like,
educated more about
back off,
guns,
right?
right? Even if the other guy was educated more about guns, you never reach for somebody's gun. That's an act of assault.
Yeah. But the problem
Right?
with Arbery, as was
Act
with
of aggression,
Rittenhouse,
rather.
these guys, the comparable Rittenhouse was a little bit more,
He was shot
Rittenhouse
at.
was a bit more controlled in what he did, but
Wow.
and way he behaved. But Arbery was a very stereotypical young fellow who
Young
didn't
kid.
know how to behave in a situation
yeah,
that was high
exactly.
stakes and a lot of pressure.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't blame Aubrey at all for reaching for the gun. He was probably scared,
Yeah.
right? Three guys attacking you.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. I can't blame him for any actions. I don't know what happened, but
he's trying to defend himself, right? Yeah, three guys are
Probably.
coming after you. You have no idea why the heck they're coming after you.
no,
There's
exactly.
no
Especially if
reason
you
for
know
them
you're
to do
innocent.
that.
If you know you're innocent, you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
These guys
He
are
was
crazy.
completely innocent. These guys have
He's
no
scared.
right to take him. These guys, for all that we know, these guys they're robbers or
Yeah.
crooks. I mean, that's what he could be going on through his mind. These guys aren't trying to
Yeah.
get me,
Yeah.
right? Aubrey
because
has had a run-in with the police on, again, racial profiling.
Okay.
Again, he's been the victim of racial profiling twice.
Really?
Yeah. And what happened though
That's
with the
brutal.
police is that it at least de-escalated very quickly.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you would think, and police officers are trained in de-escalation, better trained overall, and how to, verbal de-escalation and non-violent intervention and things like that. But three yahoos around the corner that are packing heat, come chase this guy. Like, oh, it's crazy. But you're right. Like that's probably, like, I don't know the motives, but that's probably racial, right?
That's racial. I mean,
Right.
they racially profiled this guy. Twice he's been racially profiled.
That's
But
terrible.
yeah, he was typically looks like a chill young guy who just couldn't handle very stressful, high stakes situations very quickly. Because even in the previous scenario, what he did was the police officer, but I don't know why he did this, but he had driven his car and somehow managed to get his car in the middle of a park and
wow.
was just
I did
hanging
that
out
once.
there. Yeah, he was just hanging out there, and he was just hanging out and rapping on his day off, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is,
Well,
he didn't have anything on him. The guy was clean, right? But the police
trying to clear
officer
my mind,
apparently,
officer. Just trying to clear my mind.
yeah, that's it. He's just rapping there, like. But the thing is, the officer apparently said that there had been drug dealings going around in the area. So the officer, because he had his car in the middle of the grass,
Yeah.
and he's all by himself there, the officer approached him and started questioning him, right?
Got defensive, couldn't handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he started becoming like, at first he was okay and all that stuff, but then became defensive, saying, why, why are you effing with me and all that stuff like that. And then another officer comes in. That officer was both of them were very antsy because the moment
that's the problem, right?
Cops,
both sides do one thing wrong, not even one thing wrong. Well, definitely wrong. The cop side, the cop should have actually more restraint than the individual should need to.
And
this
they
is
did.
The cop's job.
The first cop did.
Yeah.
The first cop did. He did have more restraint. But the moment that he started coming up on him and started arguing and basically saying, why are you trying to F with me and all that stuff, That's when
Yeah.
he's like,
Uh,
okay, what is
yeah.
this? That's when you start to see the tone of the cop, the
Trouble.
police officers start to change. Okay, thinking that okay, this guy's trouble
Yeah.
because of his behavior, right?
Hmm.
Then so another police officer came. He got him on his. He said he's like down, pointed a taser at him,
Okay.
and tried to tase him, but the taser hit his jacket. His jacket was open and fluffed out.
Yeah.
He failed to tase. He got
Oh,
luckily for Aubrey,
jeez.
he was failed to be tased, but he still went down on his knees. He complied with
Yeah.
police officers. They
Yeah.
waited for the superior to come on, and then they talked it over and all that stuff, and they let him go.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
exactly. And that's a situation that probably didn't need to go that far, but at least it was handled by professionals, right?
Yes.
So if the cop, one of the cops might have been not professional or not as professional as he should have been, and the young guy, he was probably freaking out or whatever. The thing is that it's not only the onus is not only on to the cops, of course, to
Yeah.
handle respectfully. The onus is on everybody, right? We should all handle respectfully, but to the cops, they're um, absolutely trained. They're specifically trained in that,
Exactly.
right? So it's their job for sure.
Yeah.
And the onus will always have to be on them more than
And this is something that you have
Joe.
to teach young folks because
Yeah,
teach not just young folks. I mean, I know the older folks even
it's
who
true. It's just
don't
got to be taught
know
at
how
some
to
point in
handle
life.
these kind of situations,
Yeah,
and they escalate things faster,
yeah,
and it could be over the smallest thing, right?
yeah.
So, and
Well,
this
that's the thing that people always have a
trained
problem
to do
with.
that.
Exactly. I always find that people are always divided when it comes to the question of just comply. And I'm like, okay, if you could, but and just comply and make things easier. But then the point always gets brought up is that you shouldn't have to just comply. And I understand that, right? I understand that because there's things right now in the laws and in the mandates that I don't want to comply with, right? But some things it is okay to comply with if it's not hurting you,
Yeah, true.
right? If it's the same sort of thing that it would be expected or that anybody else would be okay with as well,
Mhm.
then it's okay. And then but then at one point, like you said, compliance, once it goes to okay, now they're not doing their job, or now they're going to, now they're being racial, or now that whatever, then there is a point for sure. There's a line that everybody has to cross.
Yes.
But for sure, a lot of situations I think would be diffused or just not even happen at all if the accused or if the citizen used a little bit more patience. But that's more of a sign of just people not being raised right, more
Yeah.
than a racial thing, right? It
Yeah.
really is.
And
Because
that's the
if we
duty
were
of
taught more
parents.
to be polite, to extra polite to police officers, if you were extra polite to the police officer,
And
I
tactful.
highly doubt he's going to throw you to the floor. I highly
Exactly.
doubt, right? I'm not saying that, no, and I want to make sure I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that people aren't mistreated by police. That's not what I'm saying. But if you use extra politeness, like
Yeah.
you're not gonna see violence if you're very compliant and very polite. Now, if your
Professional.
freedoms a professional, exactly.
Yes.
Now, if your freedoms are taken away, if you're being mistreated, that's a different story because now
Yeah.
your rights are breached. But if you're not, if it's just annoyance to you, well, sorry, you got to be patient in life.
Yeah. And there's a way to handle that. I mean, even if it's if you know that your rights are being great argued, you have to be, if you're going to argue, is the difference between arguing and debating. You can debate with the police, you can try and deliberate regarding the issue right on the spot. You can ask questions, but you gotta do so respectfully, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be able to do so professionally. If you start just going,
Yeah.
if you try to basically just trying to make yourself loud and not and basically not allow anyone to speak, that's not helping. That's being aggressive. That's
Yeah,
not.
and that's being aggressive. Exactly. You're not even being courtesy. You're courteous. You're not even
Exactly.
just common courtesy. And it's like, I mean, if your life's not in danger, if your dignity is not in danger, if it's not immediate like that, it's a violation. Like, you can sue the police. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should sue the police, but like, there's action you can take. There's
You can
recourse.
take legal action. That's the thing.
So, and they know that too. So it's just better for everybody if both sides say please and thank you. It's like what your mother told you when you were 5, right?
Yes.
Please and thank you. Say yes and just whatever. But
yes sir, no sir. Yes sir, no sir. Or
yes, thank
ma'am,
you.
no, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, have a
That's
great
it.
day. Right? Here's my license. Not what do you need my license for? I'm not saying that it's any race that would say that. It's just people in general. I see guys,
I've
girls
seen people all
everywhere.
over the place say it.
Usually it's just kids. Any race doesn't matter. Usually it's just kids. punks, and that can be at any age, but people that are just that punk mentality, like you, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen older folks too, like
Yeah.
that have done that too. But it's just
Mm.
that unclassy, unprofessional type of
Yeah.
attitude that they have, and they just don't know how to talk. That's
Yeah.
all it is with these type of situations.
Yeah,
But that's what
exactly. And I'm
happened
not
with
talking about
Aubrey.
rights, because when real rights are violated, like mandates and stuff like that,
Exactly.
vaccines, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
But in the
that
case of
racial rights aren't
Aubrey,
real rights, but I'm talking about like Aubrey. There you go. That's physical. That's life and death. He
yeah.
was attacked.
But that was not with the police though when he was attacked,
No,
right?
no, no, no. That was
Right.
completely just these
The
three
police were
bozos.
basically confronting him and they were questioning him, right?
Yeah.
And when he was not complying, they asked him to comply and he would not comply, right?
Was
So
there
that's
was there force used in that situation?
not, well, there was the taser. That was pretty much
Oh
it.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But that failed.
Uh,
And
Taser
then
is not
Aubrey
the end
was
of the
just,
world.
he was trying to tase the guy and Aubrey's just kneeling there like,
Oh, so he did comply.
yeah, he eventually he complied. That's the thing. He did comply
Eventually.
eventually. He got down. He was very
Yeah.
annoyed, but you could tell in
Yeah.
his face. He was like, "Oh man, come on!" Like
Yeah.
that type of thing,
Yeah.
that was there, right?
Yeah.
So but he
Yeah.
complied, and after he complied,
Knowing men in their
he was better
20s,
off, right?
just from experience, knowing men in their 20s and 30s and 40s, he may have been high.
I don't know about that. We can't say anything about
Who knows?
that.
No, that's not racially. I'm just saying, knowing men, in their car, in the middle of the field, listen to music. Who knows? In their 20s.
I don't know. That was not one. I was not one of those.
No, no, but I knew lots of guys who knew lots of
Oh
guys who
yeah, I
read a
do know a
book.
lot of guys.
And in that book, they talked about this.
Oh, do yeah. Even back in the 90s, I still remember there were guys who got high or drunk or whatever. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah, all the time, all the time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so this case, but so what was the media's take on it? Like, did
Well,
they?
the media automatically call these guys the three guys that attacked Aubrey racist, racist, so white supremacist type of scenario. As with
Okay,
anyone that they see as on their on the political opposition to the
yeah,
left is what the media would have said. Um, there wasn't really much talk. I didn't see too much talk about Aubrey on the right on
okay,
this particular case, as there was a lot more being talked about Rittenhouse.
yeah,
Aubrey's case was around there, but the thing is,
okay.
it was mentioned as just word for word as to what happened, right?
Well, I think because the Rittenhouse case, the left media just got it
They
ass
were
backwards,
bashing it. Oh, she's Rittenhouse.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, of course, as I mentioned before, now CNN is being sued for slander by Rittenhouse, and
oh
there's
yeah,
of course Rittenhouse is going to win, just
yeah,
like they did with Sandman, right?
yeah.
So
It's going to keep on going again and but at one point it's going to stop because their viewership is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And
oh
guys like Joe
shoot.
Rogan have more viewers, have more listeners than CNN, more than Fox, more than everything. So this is a big deal now.
CNN's viewership it shrank drastically over the past year.
Yeah. Well, after Trump
Huge
left.
chunks.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god, they went like this to like
Yeah.
there was a huge
And that's good for everybody else. That's good for everybody else. Because it's
exactly.
proof that shows like yours are not mine, and it shows like everything. Like I said, like Ben Shapiro's, the Joe Rogan, the Matt Walsh or whatever his name is, and all these other guys.
Yes.
Like some of the stuff is really good out there.
Yeah.
Both sides. Some of the people that were in Fox and left Fox and back on again, like some of the conservatives, it's not like it used to be. It's not the old days where it's like they're set in their ways. They only talk about right wing stuff, and it's like, and
No.
it's or even maybe
Because
the
the
right
thing is,
wing stuff is not like it used to be. It's not just what I
it's
mean.
not because the thing is the
Very
people what
fluid
they're
these days.
calling the people these days what they're calling as right wing, they're not really right wing. They're centrists.
Yeah, like
They're
me.
moderates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took it like one of I know this some of the guys I know they got me to take a test to
Mm.
see where I would lean, and so essentially there's two axes,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, I've done
One
that. Yeah.
is politically left, politically right. That's right. There's left wing, right wing,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
authoritarian and libertarian.
Yep.
I actually scored a little bit more towards libertarian and a
Okay.
little bit more to the left from
Okay.
center.
There you
So
go.
that's where I
Yeah.
scored. So
Yeah.
that goes to show that, and people look at me and they say, "Oh, you're a right winger." I'm like, "No, I'm not a right winger. I'm a
Yeah.
moderate." And
Yeah.
most people, I believe, would be around that particular circle. Of course,
Yeah.
now this survey would ask, the survey based is a survey that you do in order to do this. There
Mhm.
are you're asked 4 questions. You're asked a bunch of questions, about 60 questions, and the answer is either highly disagree, disagree, agree, or highly agree. There's no
Yeah.
middle ground,
So you
which
got
is
to pick.
unfortunate because there are
Yeah.
several questions where I've been like, that depends. I would
Yeah.
either agree nor disagree. It depends on a case by case basis. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like difficult for those things. That so I would have had like to have a middle ground for that,
Yeah.
but
Well,
there
for
was
this purpose, they need to know. Yeah, they need to know the absolutes, right? To make sense in
yeah,
order to get the. Yeah.
but yeah so that's
I always
there.
score a vote in the center too, a little bit on the libertarian side as well. And generally in the past on the more of the liberal side, but like I said, it's getting more in the conservative side. And I think I may have been, I got to take one of those tests you were talking about, but
Yeah,
I think I may be more on the right side. So what's the opposite of the libertarian then? Authoritarian.
authoritarian.
Okay, yeah, I definitely don't like
Yeah,
authoritarian.
authoritarian is the other end, and I'm
Yeah.
not that. I am definitely against authoritarian. Like I believe in like what's it responsible authority,
Well, I'm
but
very,
not. But the
yeah.
thing is, responsible authority given by the people by the people for the people,
Hmm.
and that those in authority have a responsibility towards those who put them in power,
Yeah.
right?
Representative.
Towards the
Yep.
people, and they deal with people fairly, as in like a good judge, right, or a good prime
Yeah.
minister or president or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I do like some of the aspects of the libertarian are really attractive to me because it's kind of like, hey, do you do you and you and I do me. That's very libertarian kind of way, like
Pretty
my
much.
freedom ends at your freedom ends at my nose, tip of my nose. My freedom ends at the tip of your nose, or you know what I mean. Like you don't harm me, I don't harm you. I don't give a shit what you do. I like that. And in an environment where people first respect each other from a core ethics, then that works,
Yeah.
right? But as long as there's some sort of a core ethics value, and that's what I'm appreciating more of the conservative value system, where with regards to religion
Mhm.
specifically, right? We got to have another episode on that because I definitely we have more to talk about, but. And that's kind of putting me more on the conservative side of things. But anyway, back to this case. Yeah, I think the Rittenhouse thing, like the media jumped on it, automatically making their
Yeah.
blame. And well, what's the big comparison to you?
Well,
What's the big thing that pops your mind when you think of both these cases? Like,
Rittenhouse. Well, here's the thing. Rittenhouse was not racially profiled, but he was profiled, politically profiled.
yeah, that's true.
Not
That's the difference.
like while Arbery was racially profiled, Rittenhouse was politically profiled. So
Yeah,
it's still profiling someone. So eventually, sounds kind of like, which is kind of akin to stereotyping
yeah,
of someone based off your beliefs about that particular person and the
yeah.
group that they belong to without actually knowing anything about them,
In
right?
this case, in both cases, they were wrong.
Yeah, in both cases they were wrong, and that's
Yeah,
why in both cases, they were shown
crime,
that Rittenhouse
shame.
and Arbery were the ones who were right, the ones who were in the right. They were the ones who
Yeah.
were the actual. They were the real victims, right?
Hmm.
Even though they call Rittenhouse the killer or all that stuff, but the thing is that
Yeah.
Rittenhouse, if Arbery had a gun,
Yes, I was gonna say
Arbery would have been in the same boat as
justified.
Rittenhouse,
He had been justified to shoot him.
and he would have been justified
Yep.
in
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
so. So those two young men, right? They're both in the same boat. You had a bunch
Yeah.
of would-be vigilantes who came after them,
Yeah.
profiled them, tried to cause them harm and
Mhm.
ruin their lives.
Well, exactly, and it speaks to the idea of, first of all, vigilante is wrong in most cases, and the reason why it's wrong in most cases is because you don't know the truth. You don't know the big story. You don't know who these players are. You don't know the background story. You're not trained professional, and you don't have the support and the training and all these things, right? Like,
Mhm.
so but that happens, right, when things get political. That happens when these things get politically charged, the riots, these walks, they're not protests, turns into protest. First started a protest, then turns into riots and burning down the streets and all this shit, and then things going on, and the police are then charged to, they're say, okay, go police the streets now. Holy shit, all this stuff. But I don't know. I mean, none of this even involved the police. Like I said, that's the craziest thing with this, is that none of these involve the police. Other two incidents. but it's just people are politically charged because of what they see on the media. That's the problem.
And
They're
that's
politically charged because of what they
part.
see.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not about bad parenting anymore. It is the racial stuff is bad parenting on top of the media stuff, because the media throws gasoline on bad parenting.
And here's the thing: Arbery's family shown, his father especially, shown in what a real, a real moderate is like, what a real legitimate caring person, who's forgiving and caring, that type of person is there, right?
He showed restraint, did he?
He showed restraint. Not only did he show restraint, that man showed a lot of integrity in how he dealt with that, because you had the politicians behind him during the press conference. They were there, and there were people from the political side. There were people from BLM, and they were just waiting,
just ready to jump on it.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. They were waiting for him to say it. Okay. But what he said, right, is that this was a situation. Unfortunately, this is something that had to happen, right? But it's thankfully justice has been done. Yes, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. All lives matter. He said.
He said that.
He said all lives matter. I would not wish this to happen to any father. As a father myself, I wish this to happen to any father from any background, whatever the case is. It's horrible.
That's the truth.
For a father to have to see their child die like this, or be brutally killed like this, and it's terrible, or have their life ruined like this.
We got that this month. This history today, letting you know that black kid life does matter. That's right. For real, all life matters. All life. Yes. Not just black children. We don't want to see nobody go through this. No. Amen. I don't want to see no daddy watch their kid get lynched and shot down like that. That's right, Mom. So it's all our problem. It's all our problem. Yeah. So hey, let's keep fighting. Let's keep doing it and making this place a better place for all human beings. Amen. All human beings. Amen. Everybody. Amen. Love everybody. Love everybody. All human beings need to be treated equally. Yeah. We finna conquer this lynching. Today is a good day. Yeah.
And so he and you should see that he was talking it. He's like, all lives matter, all lives matter. And the politicians behind him and the activists behind him were putting their hand on his shoulder, and they're like, you could see the emotions in them. These guys, they're slowly trying to pull him away from the mic. Wow. Right. So you can see how they push this to become a political issue, because what happens is these politicians, they, but the whole word politician, they always say, what do you got? Politic, many parasites, right? Yeah. Many bloodsuckers. So that's what it is. So you got these politicians who are, it doesn't matter what your skin color is, they just want to keep their job, and the best way to secure their job is to cause division and make sure that everyone votes for them. Right? Cause a ruckus, and they say, and then start talking all this stuff that the people want to hear. And instead of being honest, and then boom, you got a situation where a lot more people are going to be driven to vote for you. And that's what that drives them. They don't care about people's lives. They care about their own life. They care about their own well-being and keeping their jobs. That's what they care about. So they're there to make this a political issue. They did that with Rittenhouse, and they did that with Arbery.
Yeah, and I think that's probably perfect to close on, the idea that they're making it political, and the media is just, honestly, they're throwing gas on it, and they should, shame on them. Like, we need to call them out, right? Shame on them for doing that. The media's job is not just to add fuel to the fire, is to really report on things that matter. If you really care about your country, if you really care about the people with your children and everybody, like, we really should, report on what matters, not just the narrative. And I don't know how some of these people that sleep at night, I don't know how they do it, but.
And the thing is that when you start listening to Rittenhouse and listening to Arbery, you can see how far from the narrative they really are. Yeah, both of these guys are genuinely. And their families also.
Just
you listen
regular.
To Rittenhouse and his family. You listen to Arbery's father, right? And his family, and you can see even Arbery himself. These guys are far from the narrative. They are not fitting it. They have been forced to fit it.
Exactly, and that's why it shows how ugly they try to put the narrative on, and how ugly the narrative is. Right? When it just, people aren't like that. Regular people aren't terrible. Regular people don't have the same agenda that the political machine has. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you. I think it's a good short episode. We, say what we need to say. What is it? What is it, episode 20? Yeah, 28, I said.
Yeah, it's 28, buddy.
Any closing remarks for everybody?
Well, pretty much just watch all the facts from the court.
Yeah.
If you want a good source for where to watch all the things, everything go down without any narrative, look at C-SPAN. They're pretty good.
C-SPAN's pretty good.
They don't mention they don't have any reporters or commentary on it. It's just what happens right then and there, and you get to see it raw for your own judgment, and you get to make your own judgment based on it.
Yeah, so awesome. Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. If you have an idea of what you want to for us to talk about, if you want to be on the show, hit us up. Right? What's the email address again, Des?
Where it's good. Well, we've got centervillevoice.com. We've got Centerville Voice on Facebook. Yep. So if you go to centervillevoice.com, you can always contact us there. We got our social media there. You can always contact us straight there through that.
Awesome.
And messages through Facebook in that manner. We've already gotten a few people who have actually contacted us through Facebook, and there are other methods that you can always use to try and contact us as well.
Yeah, we'll get back to the regular weekly thing again. My life's going to be more settled down for a little bit, and that's going to get busy. It's going to get settled in ways. Awesome, brother. Thank you, Des.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Carlo. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Take care. Cheers. Hi, and thanks for watching this episode of Centerville Voice. If you like what you see, don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're watching this on YouTube, also click on the notifications icon to make sure you'll get notified on all of our new episodes every Friday. By sharing and liking this episode and all of our episodes, it really helps to promote the channel. And by sharing these episodes, it helps to promote our word and get the word out. If you like what you see and hear, please consider becoming one of our supporters on Patreon. 10% of all Patreon supporter donations we receive go directly to our charity of the year. This year, our charity of the year is the Terry Fox Foundation. You can visit us at centervillevoice.com to learn more and engage with us on one of our social media platforms. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you again in the next episode. Peace.